My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in the world, wherever you are tuning in from. If you're tuning in from Asia, depending on which part it is, but you're probably post-midnight.
You're probably not tuning in if you're from Asia.
Yeah, that's probably a more accurate assumption. We should be in a pretty good spot, though, for those that are lunchtime in the US, or, of course, early evening, as it is on a very raining evening. It feels like winter has arrived in Germany, at least in the last couple of days. I don't know how it is in Poland. Of course, you've had some
Not quite
floods.
yet. Not
You've had
quite
some-
yet.
You've had some pretty
No,
well.
the flooding is
right?
just southwest, really. So, like, I
okay.
you know, for me, it's not going to be a factor. But yeah, actually, it's pretty hot here, so still fine.
Oh. Nice. All right, let's dive into this because I do want to make this a fairly short episode, mainly because my time is short. But yeah, we'll just dive straight in. What I want to know, Damien, because we've barely spoken about this show, really, never mind anything else. But I want to know, what tennis did you watch? Because I watched one match, but I did watch it in its entirety, and it was Navoni Darderi. Which other matches were you across? Let's use that weird word we use in media, sports media. What were you across today?
Yeah, I mean, I woke up for that one, actually, Navone Darderi, that's for sure. Otherwise, from Tokyo, I also caught a lot of Hurkacz Giron. From Tokyo, that probably would be it. From Beijing qualies, I don't think I watched anything. And on the women's, I definitely caught Shramkova and Shuai Zhang as well. And other than that, I was, later on, I was just watching the challengers. Nontaburi starts at like 4 a.m. right now. So there's always something to watch there too. But yeah, I would say just these two, Tokyo ATP and probably like 2 or 3 Tokyo WTA, Beijing WTA.
Let's begin with Navoni Darderi. I felt, but I don't know if this was a precondition. I was kind of quite keen to come to a judgment after 2 or 3 games as to how I thought the match would pan out. And as it turned out, I found myself kind of willing Navoni on because I watched the first 3 games and I thought Navoni's got this. And it wasn't necessarily the points, as in like, it wasn't like that Navoni was, had 3 break points every time on Darderi's serve. I was just watching the patterns of the rallies and I thought, I think this is up to Navoni today. Did you have a similar feeling in those first few games? Because actually he did have to save a few break points, I think, maybe 15-40, about 3-all, something like that.
I woke up for that, but that doesn't mean I woke up for that at 4 a.m. I woke up for that at like 5 a.m. So I didn't see the initial, first few games or anything. But yeah, I mean, honestly, both of them just had 1 win on hard courts this year going into this match, right? But it still felt like Darderi has shown us a lot more over the course of the season, like off clay. And yet, yeah, I mean, Navone played his best hardcourt tennis to date for sure. I think he had like 33 winners to Luciano's 13. And obviously, Darderi is the guy who has the big forehand, the big serve.
Yeah.
Maybe doesn't use it that well yet in terms of, off clay. But yeah, I think that was like literally by far the best hardcourt Navone that I've seen. And I'm super excited to see if this will continue because, yeah, I mean, this is a fast court. And yet he's just like working the points so well. And literally, you could just see this guy who last year won 5 challenger titles, and he kind of is able to take a lot of these patterns to the court today as well. Sure, the opponent was also maybe not that tough, but well, he won a match at the US Open. He won a match here. Clearly, he's learning a little bit. And I mean, yeah, if you succeed as much as Navone did in the first half of the year on clay, of course, you get a lot of these opportunities like this to pretty much just learn. I mean, he's not really coming into this thinking, okay, I'm going to get a lot of points or I'm going to get the title, right? I mean, he's just literally learning the ropes of hard courts. And, well, according to today, it seems like he has done some good learning, yes.
It was also a really clean match from him, and I think some of the rallies were pretty clean as well. There may be some stats that don't back this up in terms of unforced errors, but I quite like just watching these two guys, get close. And Navoni in particular was hitting the line or getting pretty close to the line on quite a few winners, and I don't know. It was quite an interesting match. I mean, they've got a 2-2 head-to-head, although I know you're quite keen to
No,
extend.
no. It's for free. It's for free.
Listen, I'm with you on this. Hi Ashley, by the way.
Then why did you post that? It's 2-2, and I mean, even it's very stupid because they played 2 matches on the Challenger Tour last year. Okay, like if someone doesn't want to count that, I guess I could understand that. But I mean, they played 2 matches at the beginning of this season, and then they played in a Challenger again in Cagliari. So
because I posted it because I'm playing by the norms, the rules that am I going to get a pen and paper out in years to come and see if they played each other, which I think they probably could play each other at the Laver Cup, and we're not going to go down that route, don't worry, audience. But, am I going to get pen and paper out, work out when they play challengers, no, I'm just going to conform. Not that I enjoy. Listen, I don't disagree with you. I think we should keep banging the drum about how you can't have a match, a challenger, and then 2 weeks later have a match somewhere else and not count the one at the challenger. What are you frowning at? You looking at the Medjedovic-Gosho challenger match? By the way, when I saw
Goyo, yeah. Matthew, this is a challenger in France.
Yeah.
Orléans is a challenger in France. So I guess you were wrong there again.
I thought it was in the US as well, but where was it?
No, in France.
Okay. Which exact event?
Orléans.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I think I read it as Orleans or something.
I mean, yeah, that's probably what Matthew did as well.
Yeah, I thought it was a challenger. Yeah. That's exactly what I did, Matthew. So great or not great minds think alike. When I saw that, I thought, oh, that looks like a particularly exciting match. I wish I'd been at a challenger and seen those two slugging out in recent weeks. But
there
anyway,
is a challenger in the States, though, so make sure to tune into that. Still, Leonard Tien gonna play later today against Escobedo in Charleston.
Those eagle-eyed people, by the way, tuning in, will see a little figure in the bottom left-hand corner where there's a 10 at the beginning, because we have surpassed the 10K mark overnight. By hook or by crook, we've done so, and that's pretty cool. But now, obviously, that figure's been breached. We just go onwards and upwards. By the way, Navoni on a hard court, Damien. I mean, it's not a thing, is it? In any way, shape, or form. We're not talking about a guy who's had bad results on a hard court. We're talking about a guy, has he played 10 main tour matches or less on a hard court?
Oh, main tour, definitely not. I mean, main tour before this year, I mean, he didn't play a single match, I think. But main tour right now on hard court, he would be like 2-5, I think. And before this year, like, he skipped hard courts entirely for like 2 seasons. Even actually before the US Open, the only like wins he earned on hard courts ever was a quarterfinal of an ITF in 2020. And after that, he like just decided to skip them entirely, which of course is a good strategy to rise the rankings. But yeah, he just did well enough on clay that now he can get these experiences. And finally, we see that it's heading somewhere. Of course, I mean, I really don't know how he's going to do against Ben Shelton, for example, in the next round, if it is Shelton. But yeah, it's still progress. It's the first real sign of progress.
Okay. Talking of progress, we're going to move on. As I say, I want to keep this pace pretty quick. A match that I didn't see because, partly because of the rain, because I think if it hadn't have rained, I'd have probably seen at least the first set. I don't know how long by the way, that delay was a bit weird because they've got a roof in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, they were just unwilling to close it for whatever reason.
Well, I listen, I'm just watching on TV, and it's not always easy to see how hard the rain is, at least if they don't do one of those aerial shots where it shows it. And it didn't look like it was barely raining at all, and I guess that's what they were thinking. Anyway, the match was Botic van der Zandschulp. I guess it probably started within an hour of those raindrops.
More or less, yeah.
But either way, Berrettini straight sets win. I must say that would have been pre-US Open. That would have been how I would have expected it to go. But because of her, Botic's heroics against Carlos, maybe that made me think it might be more competitive than it ended up turning out.
I mean, they played at Davis Cup just 10 days earlier, and it was more competitive. But yeah, I mean, if anyone can play better, I think there than actually, than sort of in that Davis Cup match, if anyone can play better than he did in that encounter, then it's Berrettini. And yeah, I mean, Botic's heroics. Okay, sure, he played a decent match, but let's be honest, like it wasn't like he demolished Carlos Alcaraz, and he basically left him lost for answers. I mean, it wasn't like that. Yeah, Brazy will definitely get to that. Shuai Zhang will definitely mention later.
I don't think I saw I think I saw the first set and a half of Botic against Carlos, because I remember thinking, okay, Carlos lost the first set. But I didn't think things were coming off the rails as such. I might even have got to like 4-all on serve in the second. And I was still thinking, I'm going to wake up and Carlos has won in 4. So was Carlos that bad that night? I don't recall.
He was just passionless. Like it was literally Djokovic against Popyrin the next day. Like just zero hunger, zero drive. And I mean, he's talking about it all the time right now. I'm actually getting kind of irritated by these interviews already because it seems like everybody is asking him about the very same thing right now. Like, is the season too long? And you basically get 10 quotes from Alcaraz about that every day. And it seems like he's talking about it all the time.
Right,
but I mean,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's not causing this. I'm pretty sure they're just, asking
Yeah.
him in every interview, in every press conference about this. But yeah, I mean, he literally just had zero will to fight. And this is a player, and he says it himself as well, that like he plays his best because like he enjoys it as well, right? Because there's that passion and there is that sort of like flamboyance about him, and all that sort of fun in his game is also really important. And that fun was like completely missing on the day. I mean, yeah, sure, Botic played better than like over the course of the season, and mentally it still has to be very like driving him forwards that he beat Carlos, but yeah, I mean, there was no comeback attempt. When you were watching this, even in maybe not yet in the second set, but like by the third set, I was watching like Alcaraz break back, and I was just like, well, I mean, he still has to win 15 games. With how he's looking, it's impossible because like he just doesn't really have that hunger. And well, we'll see if he has it now. Maybe Laver Cup has restored it.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I've got a strange sense of optimism. Not strange, it's not the right word, but a sense of optimism regarding Carlos and the coming weeks and months of the season. It'd be interesting to just sort of draw a line and see who ends up getting more points or better results or more titles between him and Yannick between now and the rest of the season. And despite the fact that Yannick's pedigree in these conditions is probably greater, especially if last year's anything to go by. Don't know. A Sinner Alcaraz ATP Finals final could be on the cards, and of course it may well be. You think it's almost inevitable that those two will make the final in Beijing, right?
Depending on motivation, I think for both of them, like, what you're saying, I'm sure, but like Beijing is a bit of an irrelevant event for both of them at the moment. Like they cannot really chase, Carlos cannot chase the number 1 ranking really, unless it suddenly becomes a possibility with some amazing
number
wins.
3 right now, so number 2 is within sight.
I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's 3K points anyway, right? He's just like 100 behind Zverev.
Regarding Australia, isn't 2 and 3 significant?
Somewhat, but I mean, you still need to get to the semis. This is 100 points. This is not something that he's just going to like. Basically, there's one event left, and he has to do it, right? There's 5 events left, and I don't know. Maybe one of them will be a little like, yeah. I mean, ATP finals are coming. Yes, Davis Cup finals are coming. These are huge goals, but like right now, it's a bit of a stale part of the season for both of them. I would say, after winning 2 slams this year.
We've not. I know. I'm going to get right back to the action from today in a second.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think if we've seen Carlos in a sort of Spanish. He's had 3 or 4, representations of Spain, as in the Olympics and a couple of Davis Cups and stuff like that. But we've not quite seen him, and he's still very young. But we've not quite seen him carry Spain to a gold medal at the Olympics, either in singles or doubles, or a Davis Cup triumph. And I'm sure he'd be pretty keen to add that to his resume alongside the Laver Cup heroics.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's super important for him. Hasn't really played the finals yet. 2022 he was injured. 2023 I don't think Spain was in there, right? Anyway, yeah. I mean,
Beijing surface speed for Matthew.
It's slower, but when they play, it's slower than Tokyo. But when they played last year, Sinner crashed him, so it wasn't slow enough. It wasn't slow enough for Sinner to just completely like target the Alcaraz forehand corner with pace and just
Is that the match he puked
completely
in against Alcaraz? Or was it
No, it was one round earlier against Dimitrov.
Dimitrov, yeah. Did he crush him? It was supposed
Yeah.
to not. It was straight
7-6,
set.
6-1 or something like that. But like Carlos was barely in that first set, and then after that, after it ended, it was just like the match is over.
Okay. Anyway, Berrettini looking good or difficult to judge?
I barely watched it, so I mean, Matteo, I expect a lot of good things from him later in the season. I mean, it's indoor season is coming. Shanghai is good for him too. I think he made the final one year, so yeah, sure. I mean, he might play Fritz again, just like at the U.S. Open. Maybe we'll have a slightly better chance.
Her catch?
Kinda, Hurkacz. Like, it didn't maybe need to go to a second set tiebreak and then to a third set, but he pulled through. I mean, that's very important. Of course, at the US Open, he was looking like a guy who needed rest. And well, I mean, I think we'll kind of learn sooner or later whether he has found it and whether he is really like fully back to, 100% agility and everything after the knee procedure. But yeah, so far, I mean, just a tough match right away. I think Giron was in the semis last year, can kind of stick with him in the rallies. And it's not going to be easy in Tokyo. As we were talking about it last night on the ATP Weekly, like Tokyo is a very even draw. And like literally every round, you're going to get a tough opponent. So there's really not much time for like any, playing himself into form or something like that. Gotta be on it right away. Today, I mean, yeah, kind of a very Hurkacz-like match, I would say.
Okay, any more? We're going to do 2 or 3 more things, which sounds like we're going to finish in 2 minutes, but I know it'll be a bit more than that. So one of those 2 or 3 things is to address lots of different questions in the live chat, and I want you to do that at the end, Damien. And you can address one question or all 10, up to you. But before we do that, I'm going to switch over to the WTA side. One headline or main headline is that Naomi Osaka is off to a winning start in her Asian swing. Did you say you caught which WTA match was it? You said you caught. It wasn't Osaka's, was it? It was
Zhang and Shramkova.
Yeah. What was the score? I don't even know.
I mean, 2 different matches. Zhang ending the losing streak.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, I saw that. 24, was it, matches?
24, yeah. 31st of January. Of course, in the meantime, she was winning a lot on the doubles circuit. Not like, not amazingly a lot, but still like regularly picking up wins. But yeah, must be super important. It also got pretty crazy. Like it was 5-4 in the second set, I think, when she had an easy ball and the ball doesn't get over the net. There's the net cord, and then it gets to the tiebreak in the second set. But she actually played very well there and super aggressively in that breaker. So still somehow had the confidence to keep going after missing a match point earlier, which could have been like such a legendary, infamously legendary thing if she wasted that match point and then lost again.
Oh, God,
but yeah, a few pretty close matches recently. Ashlyn Kruger, I think, especially at the US Open, and now she's also able to pick up this win. I mean, I don't know if it matters much, to be honest. 35, she's 35. Her singles career is probably done anyway. Like, I don't think she's ever really gonna make it back to the circuit. But just to stop that losing run, that's of course a big story of today. I mean, it's a record-breaking, maybe not exactly a positive record, but still.
Get your questions in for Damien in the live chat because he will be taking over the last. You've probably got like 4 minutes to get these questions in. So, and I want Damien to go back to the beginning, and there are some reasonable questions in there, and there's questions about Salisbury and Rahm and stuff like that I'm sure you can address. But in the meantime, I'll just have a quick thought on Naomi Osaka. I think in a way, she's been a bit unlucky since the beginning of the clay court season, or since the French Open. I mean, having the draw where she draws Iga, and maybe we're drawing, without no pun intended, too much from that, and then also the Mukova match, in that they've both been incredibly exciting matches, incredibly close. You know, probably she should have beaten Iga, and then who knows what happens from there onwards. Not suggesting that she would have won the French Open, but I think it would have been a fascinating tournament, put it that way, rather than the procession it became. Then going into the North American swing, she went through some of the qualifiers, even though she was losing early on occasion. I still thought she might have a good US Open, but unfortunately she ran into Mukova. Now, of course, she's changed her coach, which I think certainly both getting rid of Fawcett, and also bearing in mind the effort that she made to get Wim out of the situation that he was in, if you like, and how keen that they both seemed to be in about, I'd say, October, November of last year to reunite. And I even spoke to Naomi in about May, I think, at the beginning of the grass court season, or June, sorry, where she was like talking about how, how great things were with her and Wim. And then it all ends a couple of weeks ago, or last week. And now she's with the Patrick Mouratoglou machine. Patrick Mouratoglou, by the way, I'm feeling some Sam Allardyce vibes. And if you don't know who Sam Allardyce is, Damien, he's he's become a bit of a journeyman. In basically, a Premier League team is struggling, it's losing a load of matches, and they say, let's get Big Sam, and very different in character. Because even Sam Allardyce once joked that if he changed his name to Sam Allardyce, he could become the Real Madrid coach. It's just because, unfortunately, he wasn't quite as attractive as some of the Europeans, let's say, or the continental coaches. But he just sort of appears as a kind of a firefighter, or in Naomi's case, of course, she wants him to propel her to winning titles again, I guess. Well, she won today.
Yeah, I mean, you sent this headline on the group chat. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it is one of the biggest stories right now. That she's with a new coach, and that she, will either do well or will not, unless you just meant under him in the sense of the.
No, I didn't. I meant it just. The reason I find this a bit of a bizarre headline is listen, I therefore detract that maybe there's some kind of. Oh, here we go. You got Nerland in the chat now, so the Ask Damien section might take a twist. I don't think it's not the same as in soccer, where the coach is almost everything. Like if you said Lionel Messi at his peak or Pep Guardiola, who would you most like to have at your club? And actually, I don't even know what your club is in Poland. You'd go for Pep, wouldn't you? Or would you go for Lionel Messi? But it's a close run thing. Or would you go for super coach, if you like, Darren Cahill, Mouratoglou, whoever is your bag? Or would you go for Djokovic or Naomi or Iga, for example? Well, the coach's influence, put it that way, is minimal compared to most other sports, right?
Sure. I mean, definitely with some very established players, like you sometimes feel that, yeah, I mean, if they don't have a coach, it's probably going to be more or less the same. They just kind of need someone to like bounce ideas off of. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think that I'm not a Lechia Gdańsk supporter. I don't actually have a club, really. I mean, Unia Wąbrzeźno, it's my local club. And I don't know if I feel emotional about it. I've seen like 3 or 4 matches in my lifetime in the stands. Probably I don't really. As a kid, I used to support Olympique Lyon. But anyway, when it comes to this, I mean, sure, it's just one of the biggest stories. Like if you're writing a headline, I would have said, well, maybe not directly that, but like pretty much something similar. I think that if you're writing a headline about the first match of Osaka and Beijing, it's either that or like Osaka makes a winning return to Beijing or whatever. But then you have to check like when did she last play Beijing? And I'm not actually sure. But if it was last year, then it's a pretty horrible headline. But yeah, I think it's a very viable headline for this. Of course, yeah, I agree. It's not going to be like a main thing for the next, half a year or something like that. Muratoglu shouldn't be in every headline for the next half a year. But here, I think it's fine.
Ever seen a headline where the coach is in the headline? I don't recall it, and I don't.
So
For me, it's unusual, and I don't.
Brad Gilbert. I mean,
yeah, but I still
with Coco.
I would put it in the last paragraph, if anything. I would probably include it, especially if I was watching on TV, for example, where nowadays, unfortunately, a lot of journalists have to be. You might just see the cameras panning to Mouratoglou every 30 seconds, whatever. And I would therefore put it at the end, saying like, this does herald a new beginning for Naomi, where she's obviously begun a new partnership with Patrick Mouratoglou after dispensing with the services of Wim Fosset. That's a very journalistic sort of.
But that's, I mean, you are missing a very important point in the headline or in the lead there. I mean, literally the two stories here from Beijing are, that Osaka is back playing in Beijing. So like, I don't know, a tournament she's won before. But it's not even her country, so it's not something super strong. And the other one is Muratoglu, and that's kind of the biggest thing here.
By the way, let's go. I've got to go. Damien, just end the stream as and
of
when.
Course.
And if you have anything else to add to either the WTA or ATP matches from today, do so. But other than that, people of the live chat, including Nerlan, you are free to ask Damien some questions. And when those questions run out, or when he decides that they are no longer interesting or boring, he will end the stream. But I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, I'll just respond to some of the questions from here. Basically, Keen talking about Nishioka. Isn't he playing tomorrow? Yeah, against Felix. Yeah, I guess he's pretty unpredictable, that's for sure. There was something here. We talked about Shuai Zhang already. The surface we talked about. Yeah, Ram Salisbury. I mean, it's clear that this year it was not working out. They didn't win US Open like they always do. The US Open like they always do. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for them. I mean, it's clear that this year something ran out for them. Like they're outside the top 10 in the race and stuff. Like, yeah, sometimes the magic of these doubles pairs just wears off. I think it's good for them to try something new. Of course, Raj's career is also like not gonna last forever, right? Joe has a lot more years, so I think it's natural that at some point it had to happen. Of course, if they just kept winning, I think still they would have been playing with each other. But yeah, this year just not working out for them at all. With this, how far in a 15K doubles event could John and Damien get? Nowhere. I mean, if we played Dimitri Popko and he retired due to dizziness again, then maybe. Like if we literally just run into some fixers, then maybe. But otherwise, definitely not. I haven't seen John playing doubles. He said he feels pretty comfortable in doubles. I am pretty trash probably because I only played it like 2 or 3 times. Also, of course, not a big server really. So yeah, I don't think we would do well whatsoever. Not at this level at the very least. And yeah, Shramkova, I mean, not only qualifies in Beijing and continues her good form, but I mean, let's remember how sick this is, right? 16 days, 13 matches. She played 5 in Monastir over 6 days. Then she has just 1 day to fly over to Hua Hin. I didn't check the flight time from Monastir to Bangkok or wherever. But I mean, it has to be quite long, like 10 hours. And also she loses 6 hours alone on the time change because she's going, backwards, if you may. So yeah, that's insane. Then she plays in Hua Hin. Again, 5 matches in 6 days. Doesn't even get a day of rest between this and Beijing. And I actually checked this. And from Bangkok, the shortest flight to Beijing is like 4.5, 5 hours. So she needed to get from Hua Hin to Bangkok, which is already a pretty long drive, train, whatever route she took, I don't know. Or maybe a domestic flight, I have no idea. And then has to go to Beijing, which is just insane. This time she only loses 1 hour on time change, but still. And yeah, to actually win 3 matches in a row like this, also in the qualifying, 2 free setters, saving a match point against Polina Kudermetova, it truly is a phenomenal story. It continued today. She actually crushed Kalinina. So I guess there's some hope that she might even be able to continue this because of how easily she won today. Obviously, now she actually can get a day off, which is good for her. And I don't know, Alexandrova next round, it doesn't sound impossible. And ranking-wise, it's just so massive for her, needless to say. And yeah, there was also some talk about a win that nearly was for Kei and Sakamoto. I actually forgot to mention that. But when it comes to Nishikori and Sakamoto, I also watched this one against Lamos Wifro. Yeah, they stole the opening set. Shame they couldn't keep going, but that could have been like probably the upset of the day, you know, on any tour really, if they managed to do it. Ray said that he was a very after the qualifying match, which he played against Nardi, he said that was the most kind of like nervous that he felt in his entire career. And today, alongside, you know, a Japanese goat, he was much more just playing like normal. He was much more chill. And I think it really helped him to kind of have a buddy next to him on the court. What is Kuribali seeing is higher than Brandon Nakashima's? I don't think it's that high. But yeah, Nakashima probably much better. But certainly Eliakim is showing some promise. Yesterday against Alice, it was just kind of all up and down. The very random poor games that he gave away in the second and third set. I mean, never really should have been back in that match. But yeah, I mean, he kind of played like a very aggressive left-handed version of Mikael Ymer, if that makes sense. That was kind of who he was reminding me of. And I mean, yeah, for now it seems like in these like challenger qualifying, some early rounds, he's pretty much good to go at that sort of level. Alice, I mean, yeah, he choked it completely yesterday, but that's not the first time it happened to him. Also, what has happened to Barrère, actually, this is pretty important. Well, he had these like motivational issues this year, and he even announced that he might retire. Then after that, he suddenly had a big run. And after that, he suddenly had that big run, and on clay, he kind of just woke up out of nowhere. But yeah, it seems like he's just not really willing to keep going, or, you know, I don't know if he'll actually retire, but it seems like he just doesn't really have the drive at the moment. So yeah, I think that's why he's not playing. Cześć as well, and there's 2 or 3 more things. Yeah, let's see. Koulibaly always tried to come to net and finish points. For the most part, yeah, that's why I said like a very aggressive left-handed version of Mikael Ymer. Much easier to hit through the court, but at the same time, of course, so much more erratic. And yeah, just these 2 like very random poor service games in sets 2 and 3. It almost killed him, because up until 4 or 5 in the third, he couldn't break Alice. Was he unable to qualify for the Asian tournaments? I mean, yeah, he could have played qualifying for them, but he chose a different route. I don't think it's wrong, because these conditions, like slower indoor hard courts in Europe, they are very good for him. Today it's certainly I think also showing that, like, even though he might still have some fitness issues, and, you know, it would be great if he could play a bit more, let's say, if he could move a bit better, if he didn't have this like very heavy footed movement, and I don't know, just in general be a little more patient. But on these courts, he can make it work. It's like slow enough where he can really set up and get into the point and get into position, but at the same time, like, he can power through any surface anyway. And there's also indoors, perfect conditions. I think they're very, very good for Hamad's game. So it was just a choice, it seems. Also, he played Davis Cup, which maybe also contributed, right? He played Davis Cup with doubles with Djokovic against Greece. So maybe that also contributed to his scheduling. How unlucky is it that Emma Raducanu withdrew from the tournament? We were going to Radu versus Kim Van Zhenk. Who would you favor if they play one day? I mean, depends on what form they're in and what conditions it is and stuff. I mean, I can't just say, you know, yeah, on some day in the future they play and the favorite is that. Kinven probably will have a bit more staying power than Emma, but yeah, I mean, I would have to see what sort of what happens there. Best returner in women's tennis. This is a tough one. I mean, Świątek obviously posts the best stats, and probably you still have to go for her. But yeah, sometimes she is maybe a little bit too focused on, you know, being super aggressive even with the first serve return, and instead just ends up, you know, sending half her returns forehands, especially miles long. So there are some problems there, but I mean, the stats don't lie, and if you play her a weak second serve, you're dead basically. So she's definitely up there, I think, and I would still go with Świątek, but I understand that perhaps sometimes against these like bigger serving opponents, maybe sometimes she has issues, and also even honestly against some some regular like opposition in terms of serving quality, serving pace. She can be a little too trigger happy sometimes, but still, I would say, I mean, yeah, it's gotta be Świątek stat wise. And I think you are too high on Layal. I don't see the same potential anymore. Keen, you gotta believe. You gotta believe, and I definitely still believe. Alcaraz or Sinner? Probably Sinner, honestly. Like the way he's returning right now, the very like high margin stuff. It's always so deep. It's kind of getting a little bit more boring as well because he's just always deep down the middle, like very focused on maximizing his efficiency, maximizing the safe targets. But it's working much better, I think. And Carlos definitely has like horrible returning days that Sinner does not. And Sinner probably has better reach as well. Yeah, on the stretch to the forehand, that's true. All right. What else? Yeah, Layal, Keen, just keep believing. I mean, you cannot just give up because of 1 week season, you know? The potential is still there. He's going to break that Jurgen Chop record and become the best player from Estonia to ever, you know, exist in the ATP ranks. Breakout player prediction for next season? Oh my God. Well, I mean, we still have some of the players who like haven't really done it. So like Layal, Medjedovic, you know, these guys who kind of just stopped. These guys who kind of just stopped playing at some point. I mean, just didn't really deliver on what they were supposed to this year. But at the same time, I would probably go maybe like Fernley or Kim. So these guys who aren't defending like any points until June or May or something like that. And they'll, I don't know, talent-wise, I mean, they can literally just hop into the top 100 maybe around February next year and probably win the main tour matches right away. So maybe Jacob Fernley, maybe Jerome Kim, someone like that. Andreeva, sure. I mean, this year, at first, we thought that it was going to be maybe a bit of a stabilizing thing, but then, you know, Roland Garros semis. So I think it's more about becoming more consistent maybe right now, not necessarily in points itself, but in terms of her results and still growing into her game, I think. Kornieva, by the way, Kornieva missed 7 months this year, right? But she's going to be huge next year. Like if she remains healthy, she's going to be like top 50, no doubt. How much do you miss Roger and is your jump to the Challengers partly because he's no longer on the scene? No, I mean, when my jump to the Challengers started, it was not like Federer's career wasn't done yet. 2019, I started following Challengers on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, actually, I should say. And yeah, I mean, Federer was still around. I don't think it contributed whatsoever. It was just a very natural development from that early like fanaticism to eventually just becoming very interested in tennis as a whole. And yeah. Andreeva win a slam in 2025. I mean, you know, she's in the top 30 candidates, maybe top 20 candidates, but still a bit of a jump, maybe. We'll see. This year, I don't feel like there was ever really any slam, right? Where she could have, well, I guess Wimbledon, if she had a really good run there, it was pretty open. But yeah, the French, Świątek was too good, Sabalenka was too good at the hardcourt slams. So, I mean, it depends on a lot of factors. But she is in like a top 20 conversation, probably. Can a Polish male ever win a singles Grand Slam title? I think Hurkacz only at Wimbledon, and he would have to like deliver very well on like a mental level. What we're seeing right now in terms of like how Berkieta will potentially play in the future, these sort of playstyle generally don't win slams. So probably also somewhat unlikely, but I don't know, maybe someone whom we haven't seen yet. Who is the better Kudermetova, Polina or Veronika? I mean, Veronika, obviously. I don't think Polina is that good, but I mean, reaching back-to-back Seoul quarterfinals is very impressive because first time it happened, it was surprising, and the second time it happened, it was just as surprising. But yeah, I don't think she has the game of Veronika, really. Young British WA player who won US Open Junior this year. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember her name either because it's very tough. Stav Sovievich, something like that. Honestly, I watched a lot more of Hanna Klugman. So on her, I could probably speak about, but I mean, yeah, Stavos Lievich or whatever her name is, I've barely seen her, so can't really answer that question. Who do you prefer working with, John or Vansh? I mean, depends on what. I mean, with John, definitely there are some streams where I can just kind of join and, he's throwing questions my way and it's very relaxing for me. Whereas with Vansh, I sometimes feel like I have to work for it a bit more. It's actually different at the Iga Carlos recordings, like their Vansh is hosting. And I'm again like this guy who just sits and basically answers his questions and sometimes also, of course, leads the conversation somewhere, but not necessarily even. Whereas if we're doing a talking tennis stream with Vansh, I feel like I have to kind of make him talk sometimes. But I don't really mind that. I mean, I definitely started liking that role a bit more over the course of, I don't know, the last year or so. I feel like I've had a lot of experience, had a lot of practice in that role, and I started liking it more. So depends on the type of content, I guess. I feel like, if we're doing like this podcast with Vansh, for example, probably it's way better with him than it is with you. But at the same time, if we're doing like that sort of a stream like we just did, it's way easier for me with you than with Vansh. What's my best 5K time? I actually don't know. I can tell you what my best 10K time is, and it's 42, almost on the dot. I would not be able to run like that right now. I would not be able to do it because I had this knee injury and then I kind of stopped, like differentiated my training routine a bit. Like I'm not running as much anymore, but I'm also adding some like strength training. But 42 on the dot was my 10K time. So I guess 55K I had to run at about 21. But precisely I cannot tell you. I never really tried like running 5Ks, for a record. Like 5Ks, if I was running them, I was doing that, I don't know, just like as a daily routine. Whereas 10Ks, I was like straight up focusing on getting a record. So I got to 42 once, but it was like a few months ago, and it would take me a lot of work to get back to that level, actually. What player do you believe will become round out? Will round out the new big three for tennis, Sinner, Alcaraz. I mean, I once thought it was Rune, but of course, there's a lot of doubts right now. So maybe we'll just get some major development from Fonseca. That would be fantastic if he can kind of get there. Otherwise, do we have anyone right now? I mean, Fields, I doubt if he's ever going to be as consistent as they are. Who else is there? Like Menchik, probably not to that extent. Who else do we have? Jerry Shang. I don't know. I don't think other than Fonseca, I see like a very natural player to join that group. So probably for now, I would say Fonseca. But also Rune, I mean, I have to kind of remember he's there, but he has to do something like, I don't know, in the next year or two for me to start believing again. I've never run a marathon, by the way, and half marathon, I don't remember what my time was, but it definitely wasn't that. I never really practiced for that. But I don't know, maybe one day. That is pretty fast. That's true. And Zverev is the closest to Big Three currently, but there's still a clear gap between him and the top two, says Street Race. I mean, I don't think Zverev is really in that conversation because, well, he's a bit older and also he's shown many occasions that mentally he's just not really fit for winning titles like this. And I honestly, I hope he does it at one point, like just one slam title. I think he kind of deserves it regardless. I mean, obviously, I'm not talking about character here. I'm just talking about game. And I would like him to have one, I think, in that sense. I think it would make sense if Zverev had a slam title, but I'm not really sure he will do it at this stage. Definitely not. I mean, there's been some opportunities that he has missed, obviously, and it doesn't seem like it's improving with every year, his ability to step up in these moments. And also, what do I know of the Conor Nyland story? Reading his book, I have the Conor Nyland book like literally on my shelf here, but I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. The racket here. But I will be trying to read it somewhat soon. Honestly, don't have much time for reading. Currently, I'm reading a different book, and when I finish it, maybe I'm gonna get to that, I hope. Although I also ordered something else, and that might actually come first before Conor Nyland. Sorry, Conor Nyland, But I think whatever I'm gonna get in like the next 2 days, I think I probably will read first, actually. But yeah, hopefully this will be also maybe in the off season. But I'm actually planning that when I read it, I'll probably tweet about it as well, and sort of because it sounds very much like Chasing Points and kind of pretty much the right book for me, you know, in terms of kind of this level of tennis that I'm interested at, and you know the backstage of that. So yeah, very excited to read it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet since maybe like 2 months when I got the book. So it's not going that great. Would I ever start a TikTok? I kind of feel repulsed by it. There are just certain social media platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok that I can't get into, and I don't think I ever will. Maybe at some point life will force me into it. It's possible. Honestly, Twitter at first, I remember starting a Twitter account in 2015, and I just didn't know what it was about, and I just decided to like skip it. And after 4 years, I came back to it. So maybe something like that can happen with TikTok, Instagram, or whatever as well. But for now, these platforms don't interest me at all, especially as Twitter is just pretty much the perfect thing for me at the moment, both professionally and kind of like, yeah, just it personally as well. Conor Nyland is a player that, Nurlan, if you watched a lot of challengers in the 2010s, 2000s, you would know for sure. He got pretty close to the top 100, right? I think. I mean, if he was playing right now, you probably would have known him too. Let me check what his career high ranking was, but my guess would be like 140 or 130, like something or like that, I think. But yeah, my Wikipedia here is not working too quickly, so I'm gonna get back to that in a second. Conor beat Federer as a teen, okay. Oh, and there was also this one. If you had to play a match against another tennis YouTuber, who would you choose? Oh, that's a good one. Do I just go Jules Marie because he's so high up? Carousel, I mean, that's kind of a good one as well right now. Or do I just go Felix Mischker because that's maybe someone that's kind of more relatable? No, I would probably go for the ranking. So I think I would like to play with Jules Marie. Talk to him a few times. He's a nice guy. Would like to just try myself against a player of that level. Obviously, I mean, we wouldn't be able to like, play points normally and hope that I win. Like there would have to be some sort of different rules or something like that. Or maybe we would just, just have a hit. But yeah, I would like to play Jules Marie, I think, out of the tennis YouTubers, unless I'm forgetting about somebody. Oh, 129. Okay, so that was a good guess then. The answer should be a Silky rematch. I'm just assuming a Silky rematch will happen at some point. I'd like to play some other guys of the Talking Tennis community as well, obviously. I mean, really, one of the dreams, I would say, would be a Talking Tennis, like, full-on tournament, And yeah, you're pretty late because we're going to be wrapping up in a second. Basically, I'm just answering whatever is in the chat, and then we're going to be finishing it. But yes, I'm not purposely in the dark. I was just starting the stream when it was still lights. And, well, now it's not. So I would have to get up, click the light on. But anyway, I'm not going to do it because we're basically wrapping up in like a minute or two. I would love that, Jake, as well. I mean, honestly, you would be invited to play if we ever organize something like that. But yeah, just getting people into one spot at the same time from all sorts of different parts of the world. It's pretty much impossible, but I would love it. Svete Korea finished as a tennis player, only a YouTuber? No, I don't think he's finished as a tennis player. I think he's gonna like finish top 100 or still has a shot at finishing top 100, right? So yeah, I definitely don't think he's finished as a tennis player. Where is he in the race right now? Let me actually check that. But I think he will be about 96. So I mean, he still has a very good shot at finishing top 100. And what else was there? From Keen as well. Favorite junk food. Does pizza count as junk food? If it is, then probably. But I also don't really like order that much pizza. Like honestly, I'm fine with like a frozen one even, or like something like kind of homemade where you you kind of take out some of the calories. That's also fine. Like that also satisfies my craving. But from time to time, it's good to eat like a good high quality pizza actually. And yeah, out of like chains, definitely I would say just classic McDonald's. It's frustrating that you buy this food, you eat it, and then you feel hungry after an hour. But I've eaten McDonald's a lot when I was at the university, because it was like just like literally almost on the campus. So I do have a lot of nostalgia for it as well. I mean, I like pretty much all junk food, to be honest. But yeah, if I had to say like one thing, it would probably still be pizza, and also ice cream. Ice cream, I'm a total sucker for. Like I could eat a gallon of ice cream, and I would have no issues doing that whatsoever. So yeah, but I like any junk food. I really do. I think junk food is obviously designed so that you like it and so that you crave it. So that's fine. But it's fine to give yourself a bit of pleasure, right? There's that 80-20 rule, right? Where you have 80% of like healthy income of calories and of food, and 20% can be like whatever. And I like that rule. I think that's a good rule, although I sometimes probably go more like 70-30 rather than 80-20. Also, like when you're traveling, you pretty much have to eat junk food sometimes, right? Because there's just no way really you're gonna keep like a healthy diet on the journey somewhere. And I do travel quite a lot, I would say, compared to most people during the year to the tournaments and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of when my dietary habits go away. And Big Milk Keen, I know you're kind of obsessed with that, but personally, I don't really like ice cream that's like just milk flavored, that just cream. Like, no, I like the fancy ones, or just fruit. Honestly, any fruit ice cream, that's fine. Any fruity ice cream is okay. But also, like, if we're going into like more milk ice cream, then I would go with like mint chocolate or something like that, like something more funny than just straight up white ice cream. And yes, we did hit 10K subs. That is very true. And as you can see, we hit it not only by like 5 subs, but by 230. So yeah, great achievement for the channel, and hopefully you can keep going and keep progressing. So don't unsub us right now. In fact, if you're watching and if you still haven't subbed, then go ahead. Probably going to be finishing this in a minute. I don't read Jordan Peterson's books. I know who that is. I almost didn't. I remember someone brought him up at the university and said something about him, and I was like, who the hell is that? And they looked at me like, what? You don't know who Jordan Peterson is? And I know, what sort of political side he's on and stuff, but yeah, I've never seen any video, book, whatever. But I do read a lot of like fitness content right now. Yeah, actually, I've gotten really interested in this over the last year or so. And I think it's like absolute bollocks that in school we are taught nothing of that. Like literally all the basically, like it's not even my main interest. Obviously my main interest is tennis, but like over like maybe half a year of getting slightly interested in the topic, I just learned so much more than in school, and sort of so much more than my parents have ever been able to give me, because they also don't possess that knowledge. And that's sick. We really don't learn anything about nutrition and a healthy lifestyle in school. Instead, we learn some like billion not really useful information and like mathematical things that don't really exist even, and you don't even remember them anyway after a few years. Yeah, and probably we're going to finish then. Thank you for every comment, question, and stuff. Also in the part when John was here, of course. Keep watching Tokyo, Beijing. Hopefully we're going to be also producing some content for you on the channel. English literature is not useful. Well, I like English literature quite a lot, but I like experiencing and discovering it by myself rather than actually reading it in class. Since I was like maybe 12, I haven't read anything that was ever, posted to me in class. I mean, I read some of these books just, at different times. So I like exploring it by myself rather than actually in classes. But yeah, I mean, in a way, it's not useful for the most part. Yes, somewhat. I mean, I think it could be modernized maybe a little bit, but getting that deep into a lot of the works and kind of following the interpretation that is there in the guidebook of the teacher or whatever, I'm not a big fan of that either. Yeah, school is very impractical. I know it's supposed to like teach you some basically like, basic things that later you can kind of work out everything on your own, and it's supposed to teach you some sort of like patterns of existence of life, and basically the way to learn things. But yeah, I think it's just really, really impractical. Anyway, it's obviously also it doesn't have to be the same in every country. My experiences are with the Polish schooling system and Polish university and stuff. But English literature, I mean, I did get a lot of courses on that, obviously, at my university course. Anyway, yeah, once again, thank you for the 10K subs. Let's keep working, let's keep developing Talking Tennis, and I'll see you guys at some point this week, hopefully. Bye.